Hey guys, today I'll show you a supernatural film named Puppet Master Doktor Death. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with a bald man working in a morgue when suddenly the zipper on a nearby body bag opens. He gathers his courage and walks over to inspect it. As he nervously leans closer to the body bag, he fails to notice a dark figure behind him. The bald man feels a sharp pain in his ankle and falls to the ground in the next moment. A puppet wearing a doctor's head mirror emerges, emitting a cackling laugh, but in a chicken voice. The puppet grabs an electric bone saw and maliciously slashes at the bald man, sending thick blood splattering everywhere and a scream piercing the sky. This is the third murder case at the nursing home, with several elderly residents killed in succession. Each case is connected to the mysterious puppet, but what kind of magic does it possess? Why is it targeting innocent bystanders? Everything began a few days ago. The protagonist, April, arrives at an elderly care facility to start her new job. As she approaches the entrance, she sees an old man being carried out, apparently having died suddenly the night before. The supervisor brings April inside, instructs her to change into her uniform, and get to work immediately by helping her colleagues clean. The supervisor then hurries away. April's colleague Flynn comes over to greet her. He grabs her hand and doesn't let go, possibly harboring hormone motives towards the new sexy female colleague. April awkwardly makes an excuse to leave and heads to the employee area to change into her uniform. Following the supervisor's instructions, she goes to find her coworker Ryan to handle the deceased's belongings together. Ryan appears very sad. Upon inquiry, April learns that Ryan has been taking care of the deceased, a retired veteran. Ryan struggles to accept the sudden loss of a person who had been fine just moments before. The two of them begin cleaning the room. As the old veteran had no relatives, his belongings are either thrown away or given to others. April discovers a box in a wardrobe. Flynn comes over to join them, and the three of them move the box to the bed. They find that the box is wrapped in iron chains and locked. Flynn doesn't care whose box it is and breaks the lock with a hammer. Inside the box, there is a puppet doll wearing a head mirror, appearing to be a doctor character. Later, April is called to the office. The director calls in a female nurse named Jenny and asks her to give April a tour and introduce her to the clients in the facility. April follows Jenny out of the office and enters the first bedroom where they meet a slightly deaf old gentleman who enjoys playing golf. Jenny reminds him not to forget to attend the memorial service after dinner, then leads April away. Their next client is an elderly artist. She has prepared a special welcome painting for April's arrival. However, since she didn't know what April looked like, the face on the painting is left blank. Jenny tells April that the artist claims to have psychic abilities, so she is a bit neurotic. The two then go to meet their next client named Tycoon, a wealthy man who likes to give gifts to the caregivers. However, he often acts inappropriately towards female caregivers, so they need to be cautious around him. Upon seeing April, Tycoon's eyes light up, and he takes on the demeanor of a playboy. Now there is only one last client, Miss Bell, who can't speak due to a stroke. Miss Bell has a habit of stealing things, particularly from the caregivers. Just after Jenny finishes introducing her to April, Miss Bell pulls Jenny to the side, urgently pointing at a table. April notices the puppet on it, the same one Flynn had taken away. How did it end up in Miss Bell's room? Jenny suspects that Miss Bell stole it and warns her not to take Flynn's belongings, as he has a particularly bad temper. After dinner, everyone gathers for a memorial service for the deceased veteran. The hearing-impaired gentleman steps forward to give a speech, while Miss Bell stares in horror at the windowsill where the puppet has appeared again. April notices her reaction and spots the puppet by the window. She asks Jenny why she didn't return it to Flynn, but when April looks back, the puppet has vanished into thin air. April suppresses her suspicions and joins her colleagues in conversation. Flynn sits nearby, holding the eerie puppet. He leans toward Jenny and teases her about not accompanying Tycoon, implying an improper relationship between them. Jenny pushes Flynn away in response, and the puppet flies out of his arms. When Flynn gets up, he finds the puppet missing. He is about to confront the others when the supervisor comes over and takes him away. Late at night, April is on duty at the front desk. Feeling uneasy as if someone is peeping at her from the shadows, she decides to go chat with Ryan and the others. Meanwhile, a dark figure climbs the stairs, quietly opens Miss Bell's door, and the lightly sleeping elderly woman wakes up immediately. She sits up to investigate, only to find that the intruder is the mysterious puppet. The puppet grabs the respirator by the bed and pulls out the tube, causing Miss Bell to gasp for air and struggle to breathe, while the puppet stands in front of her bed, laughing maniacally, but in a chicken voice again. Elsewhere, April is still chatting and laughing with her colleagues when they hear Flynn shout. They all rush upstairs to check the situation, only to find Miss Bell holding the puppet in her arms like her fat baby, her eyes staring blankly at the ceiling, no longer breathing. Ryan throws the puppet away like an adult toy and tries to resuscitate her, but it's too late. April walks over to the bed and finds the respirator tube on the floor. Everyone leaves Miss Bell's room, and April suddenly realizes the puppet, previously discarded in the corner, has disappeared again. Is all of this really a coincidence? A staff member prepares Miss Bell's body and sits at a table to record the details. Unexpectedly, the body bag's zipper opens suddenly. The worker walks over to inspect it, only to have his ankle slashed the next moment. The puppet grabs the electric saw and attacks the worker, causing blood to splatter and anguished cries to fill the air. The puppet then drags the worker's body out of the pool of blood. The next morning, the granddaughter of Miss Bell arrives at the nursing home to deliver the funeral clothes for Miss Bell. A person at the entrance directs her to the morgue around the corner, telling her to give the clothes to the staff there. The girl reluctantly takes the clothes and heads to the dimly lit morgue, not noticing the bloodstains on the floor or the empty body bag. As she opens a door, the worker's corpse falls directly onto her. April had been busy all day, and it wasn't until the evening that she heard of another mysterious death. One bizarre case after another had left everyone feeling uneasy. Jenny asked April to check on Tycoon to see if there were any issues with the client. When April tucked Tycoon in, he suddenly pointed to the window, claiming to have seen something. She bravely walked to the window, and the next moment, lightning struck, revealing Miss Bell's pale face. April was frightened and fell to the ground, while images of recent strange events flashed through her mind as she suddenly woke from her dream. Her co-workers surrounded her, asking what had happened and why she had fainted in Tycoon's room. April explained that she had seen Miss Bell, but no one believed her because Miss Bell was already dead and could not have climbed to such a high windowsill. Just as April began to doubt herself, the supervisor appeared with a solemn expression. Miss Bell's body had disappeared. The next day, the nursing home was filled with fear. The artist was locked in his room, painting a portrait of a puppet. Flynn, who had been off duty the previous night, had just arrived downstairs. He leaned against the tail of his car, smoking, when he noticed a trail of footprints on the ground. Curiously, he followed the prints into the warehouse, where they disappeared at the wall. Just as Flynn was wondering what was going on, he turned his head and bumped into Miss Bell's ghostly arms. She pushed him down and ran out of the warehouse. Flynn didn't understand what was happening, so he picked up a puppet from the ground and dusted it off. The next moment, the puppet turned its head and he immediately threw it away like an adult toy. Anxiously looking around, Flynn didn't expect Bell to suddenly appear and forcefully kill him. On the other hand, April found Ryan and shared her suspicion that Flynn had removed Miss Bell's oxygen tube. After all, Miss Bell had stolen his puppet. Ryan thought that although Flynn was not a good person, he wouldn't go so far as to commit murder. However, the series of strange incidents in the institution did seem to be related to the puppet. They went to the staff area together, broke open Flynn's locker, and hoped to find and get rid of the puppet. But all they found inside was a spare key. That night, a storm was brewing as Jenny snuck into Tycoon's room. He handed her a large sum of money and asked her to come for a hormone date after work. Just as she left, April and Ryan stopped her and asked if she had seen the puppet. She told them to check Flynn's car. At the same time, the supervisor had just finished work and was about to rest when she heard a strange noise behind her. She picked up a flashlight and walked towards the source of the sound, only to find herself in a dark room with curtains hanging everywhere. A dark figure stood behind her unnoticed. The supervisor carefully backed away, but tripped over Miss Bell's greasy body. She screamed like a wild goose, and the puppet locked the door and left. Meanwhile, April and Ryan were outside Flynn's car, hoping to find clues. April used a spare key to open the trunk and found Flynn lying inside, covered in blood. Ryan asked him what happened, and Flynn said it was the puppet's doing. Later, Jenny entered Tycoon's room, planning to undress for their hormone yoga. However, she discovered that the person in the bed had their head covered with a blanket. She lifted the blanket to reveal the puppet standing there, surrounded by Tycoon's blood. The puppet lunged at Jenny and killed her, then went on to find its next prey. It approached a deaf elderly man on the couch, raising a golf club to strike him. April and Ryan returned indoors just in time to hear the supervisor's cry for help. They unlocked the door, and the supervisor said Miss Bell's body was inside. They quickly split up to check on the safety of their colleagues. The supervisor went to the director's office only to find it covered in blood. The next second, she was killed by a monster sitting on a chair. Ryan and April discovered the bodies of their other colleagues and the artist who was killed with a paintbrush. Only 2 people were left alive in the entire institution, and they had to leave immediately. Unexpectedly, a skeleton-like figure looking like a skinned staff member pursued them. Ryan rushed to hold the figure back while April picked up a defibrillator and shocked the skeletal figure. Ryan leaned in to listen for any signs of life on the figure's chest, only to be killed by a sharp weapon through the head. Soon after, the puppet emerged from the skeleton's chest, revealing that it had been controlling the figure's actions. As the skeleton rose again and approached April, she suddenly stood up with a faint smile, revealing that she was the great-great-granddaughter of the wizard, who had given life to the puppet with her blood. It turned out that the puppet had been given life by a wizard's blood many years ago, and April was also a descendant of that wizard. They were of the same bloodline, and she had come here to find the puppet and reunite with her long-lost family member. April subsequently informs him that she desires to assist him in reuniting with the other puppets, and she displays a wickedly sinister smile. This prompts the puppet to chuckle and spare her life, seemingly consenting to embark on her quest to locate his former companions. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.